Hey everybody, Bob Stephanos with Revive Proactive Health, another episode of Revive Live. And what we're trying to do, what we're going to look at today is process. A lot of people are interested, they have questions and so forth about hormone replacement therapy or their symptoms. They're tired, they don't have good sex drive, they don't have great endurance, their memory is lacking and so forth. And they want to find out, what is the process? How do you get started with a company like Revive and so forth? You know, anything. The things that are important is do some research, obviously, speak to some people, get referrals and so forth, but go into it and find the specific questions and make sure they're addressed in a specific way. So if it's endurance or memory loss or sexual issues, you want to get with somebody that you can get a consult with that is educated, who has a lot of experience in this area, because sometimes it's just not hormone related. It could be multifactorial. You want to take a look at your state of mind, your lifestyle, your negative habits or positive habits, things that contribute or really make these things come to a head, and after a while they can become really detrimental to your health. So we want to sit down and get with somebody, and even if you call people on the phone, that you're not just talking to some telemarketer or a rep from a company on the phone. You want to get somebody who has a good working knowledge of physiology, hormone replacement therapy, that has a medical background and so forth, and therefore or has just a lot of experience with dealing with patients and so forth. So that your first step is to really feel comfortable and feel that what you want to do is you're going to be on a fact-finding mission. You want to find out, okay, what possibly could contribute to that. So usually the first step is to get comprehensive blood work done. When I say comprehensive, people come to me and they send me their blood work. It's usually 95% of the time it's incomplete, even though it comes from the endocrinologist. I got some from a lady today. It's a great hormone screen, but it doesn't tell me anything about her physiology. In other words, it shows all her hormones. Okay, that's great. But we're not taking into anything else into her effect. Liver, kidney function, her blood densities, her, if she's anemic, if she's not carrying enough vitamin B12 or iron. So we want to see all the other things that contribute or cause the issues. So I get a lab from somebody, and there's no metabolic activity, metabolic panels done on there. So, 25% of the diabetics in America today are walking around, they don't even realize they're hypoglycemic or they're diabetic. And this symptomatic of it, they're tired and they're putting a lot of weight on, their body composition is out of skew and so forth, and they don't understand why. But when we take a look at their fasting glucose in a complete metabolic panel, we find out that they're becoming insulin resistant. So when you become insulin resistant, your insulin isn't managing your sugars, and you become diabetic, and you have big swings in terms of energy and endurance and so forth, sex drive and so forth. So the first thing men think of is, oh, well, maybe it's low T. Well, low T it could be as you get older, but it could also be diabetes, or it could be people walking around with high blood pressure, diabetes. There's all kinds of things that you want to really check. So we want to take a look at that. We want to get comprehensive blood work done. We want to get a physical done on you to see how your breathing and your physiology is, your blood pressure, your heart rate, get an idea of your body composition, where it looks like. Those give you fill in the gaps. What we're trying to do is build a case for you that is logical in terms of why a doctor needs to treat you. Or do we need, or functionally, are there things that you could do or modify in your lifestyle without being prescribed? And that's what we do here. What we want to do is, first of all, you might be a candidate, but you might have the symptoms, but you might not be a candidate for hormone replacement therapy. And that might, there are many factors such as sleep. If you're not getting good rest, if you don't sleep well at night. We have people with young children. We have people who let their pets jump up and down on the bed with them at night, and they don't get into deep REM sleep. This really interferes with hormonal cascading. At night, when the pituitary relaxes and opens up, a lot of hormonal cascading occurs. Growth hormone, serotonin. These things help you relax and help you recover. If you're not getting into deep REM sleep for whatever reason, the pet keeps moving around in the middle of the night, the baby keeps waking you up. These are things that you can definitely, try to address. If you leave the TV on, you need the TV on, that noise to help you fall asleep. You got to make sure you put a timer on because you want to get into deep REM sleep. So if it's just a light level sleep, you're not going to get into that area where hormone replacement or hormone cascading occurs. So you're going to wake up in the morning and you're not going to be refreshed. And the reality is that without good rest, there's a certain amount of internal stress that occurs that will trigger your body's adrenals to start producing a lot of stuff called cortisol. And cortisol is something that is initially there to protect your body. It's an anti-inflammatory agent, protects your body, but long-term stress-induced cortisol production will cause issues in terms of anxiety, fat development, visceral fat around the midsection. It's just not good for your body. It causes the body to stay in an inflamed state, even though it's an anti-inflammatory. What happens is overproduction of it causes issues in terms of connective tissue, joint hydration, synovial fluids that lubricate the joints and so forth. So you got to get rest. Rest is really important. There are some cortisol supplements or adrenal fatigue type supplements that are out there that can be used to calm cortisol down, but lifestyle changes are better and more permanent long-term answer for adrenal support or cortisol, overproduction of cortisol. So those are things that we try to look at. We want to look at certain things about your blood. Are you anemic? Do you have not enough red blood cells? Too many blood cells? Those things can affect your energy, your blood pressure, your risk for coronary heart disease. We want to take a look at cholesterol. Let's see what the ratios. What is your cardiovascular risk ratio? We want to take a look at inflammatory markers, C-reactive protein, homocysteine C. These are things that indicate there's some inflammation going on in the cardiovascular system and how to address that. Because if we're in an inflamed state, again, these will trigger the symptoms that you might be associating with low T or hormonal imbalance or causing hormonal imbalance. So if we address those things, it's like baby steps. Let's take a look at how you're eating. Are we eating enough food that is anti-inflammatory in nature? So we take a look at those things and we build a case for you, and the doctor looks at this, and there's a logical pathway or chart that we'll look at to pursue a path of becoming healthy again. So when we do that, the first step is obviously get to somebody who can discuss the issues and can frame that and actually ask you the right questions, because sometimes it's not really apparent the negative things or negative behaviors or things that could be impairing your health. So unless you're keeping a journal of when you eat and when you work out and the supplements that you take and when you sleep, all those things, most people don't do that. But if we're discussing that, we keep a chart, we can trend it. And then the second step, comprehensive blood work. Do comprehensive blood work, we take a look at that, we match those together, and then all of a sudden the puzzle starts sticking together. And we get a better picture, and we can be more accurate in treatment that way. It's what happens with a lot of companies. You're over a certain age, they'll do the blood work, and they just prescribe for you. It's very a generic cookie cutters type therapy. And short term, you will have some benefits from it, but long term, they're not really addressing what needs to be addressed, whether it's food intake, nutritional behavior, lifestyle behavior, your sleep patterns, things like that, things that you don't necessarily have to sell, you have to address and adjust those behaviors to really enhance and get you the lifestyle and the health that you desire. So look at those. Those are the fundamental things. Seeing a physician, seeing a medical professional that understands those things. Then obviously the appropriate medications. The problem is a lot of different medications out there. A lot of them are similar. Yet it seems that there are only a handful typically prescribed. And the problem with that is many of these medications are specific because everyone is so different in their physiology and biochemistry and so forth. So what we want to do is we want to find the right medication, whether it's thyroid medication, whether it's a testosterone, or it's a balance between estrogen and pregnenolone and progesterone. These are things that sometimes there are modified bioidentical hormones that can work wonderfully with people, yet if they're not prescribed specifically, or if it's just a general application or prescription that is given to you, it might not work initially. So the feedback is very important. So if somebody starts you off on a program, obviously there's an induction phase where it takes time for the body to build this platform of hormone or medication or vitamins. It's not like taking an aspirin when you have a headache that 20 minutes or half an hour later it goes away. There's a process involved where you have to build the hormones up gradually over a certain amount of time, and usually within a month on most medications, sometimes 2 to 3 months on some of the thyroid-based medications. It takes time. Then you want to make sure during that period, obviously you want to be in touch with your medical professional as far as making sure that you're consistent and congruent with the prescriptions, and then from that point on, you want to do some follow-up blood work. And the blood work will reveal if any inconsistencies or if any adjustments need to be made. The other component is your feedback. Your feedback is critically important because the blood work, although it will show levels, if you're still symptomatic or you still have those negative side effects or symptoms that you came to the doctor with, it doesn't really matter too much if the blood work is optimal. We have to find out a solution. So that's where it goes back to doing your homework or doing our homework with you to make sure, okay, sleep, your food, your nutrition, your supplementation, the times in relationships that we're using those in relationships to our activity level. So we want to make sure we're eating appropriately at the appropriate time. We're supplementing at the appropriate time. The medications are taken consistently the way the doctor wants you prescribed, those are being taken. Now all of a sudden, if those are all consistent and we're having an issue, there's where some of the medications might be modified or adjusted in dose. That makes sense, doesn't it? If something's not working, well, let's not just stick to doing it. Well, a lot of the companies, a lot of the clinics that are doing it is just a consistent cookie cutter type thing. And what happens is that generally speaking, is a lot of patients will come to us and say, hey, the first 4 to 6 months it was good, but to be honest with you, I don't feel any differently than I did when I first started. And the issue is that there is no follow-up, not enough follow-up with the patient, not enough supervision with the patient, not enough interviewing with the patient, and that's where a lot of the companies will fall short, or clinics will fall short, because the fact of the matter, a lot of these doctors, it's a high volume situation. So they want to get as many people through as they can, and follow-up sometimes slips through the cracks. The idea is that you have a good relationship with the people that work with us. They can text us, they can call us. The response time is ridiculous, and if the answers can't be answered by our affiliates or our associates, the medical professionals will get that answer to you within 24 hours. So that's important to have, and that's where the big difference is. The big difference is really the connection and the accessibility to your clinic. The other thing too is obviously follow-up. Follow-up's important, and then supervision in terms of medical supervision, making sure that you see the doctor or medical professional, you're making sure you get blood work done with all the values. Sometimes if you have an issue with something specific, the doctor might want you to go, okay, in 60 days, get lab work here, and let's just monitor that. And then maybe every 180 days or so, once you're established and everything seems to be okay, every 4 to 6 months, getting lab work done seems reasonable. It's easy to do. And that way we can really trend you, and we can monitor whether it's your cholesterol, your blood pressure. We see those things, and we can see how they trend. So doing blood work, it's an important tool, but it's just one of the many tools, like I said, that you need to do. So it's really simple. The simple is get in contact with somebody, have good conversations with people. I would say, obviously referrals are really important. You want a good relationship. Accessibility is really important. So if you can't get with the person that you're talking to or you're having a hard time, it's very frustrating. I mean, obviously, the professionals, they work with many patients and so forth. So you might not be able to, within a reasonable amount of time, you're getting feedback from your request for information or a question regarding nutrition or the medication that you're taking seems to be reasonable. If there's a medical emergency, obviously a medical emergency is a totally different aspect. You want to get right to them and tell them that, and that goes right to the top of the page. You usually get a call back right away. So if that's not the case, then you need to look around and find somebody that fulfills those needs. It's important to do that. So the beauty of Revive is that regardless where you are in the United States, we can send you to a lab. We can send you to a lab, we can get you with a medical professional, and then those medical professionals really understand the concept of proactive health, functional medicine. When we talk about functional medicine, it's not always prescribable medication, but there's supplements, there are lifestyle changes that we want to incorporate to make you healthier. So you can get in touch with us, you see one of the reps and talk to us a little bit about it, see if we're a good fit for you. And that's really important. We might not be a good fit for everybody, but we're proactive. And what's important, the reason why we really like this whole concept is that we meet people that are proactive in their lifestyle. They want to do things, but they just don't know how. We want to show them the pathway of health and vitality. So when you get to the state where you're really symptomatic, you're in a reactive stage. You're not in proactive stage anymore. You're sick. And we usually get people, I would say 75% of the people are proactive. They want to stay healthy. They have great vitality. They want to have a great quality of life and minimize the chance of disease. And then the other percentage, the other group fall into the people that are sliding into the disease state. And that's because of usually neglecting their health or hormonal changes that occur as they get older, and it finally dawns on them that, hey, you know what, I am just not the same person I was just a few years ago. And people put it off for a myriad of reasons, and it's not expensive. It's not expensive to take a look and find out at least what is going on in your body. When you see that, then you get at least an idea, and you can discuss that with somebody without any obligation to do anything about the possibilities and your options as far as treatment. You know, initially you might want to say, hey, you know what, right now I want to address my lifestyle changes. I want to train more often. I want to get some nutritional support. I want to address my digestive tract in terms of probiotics, digestive enzymes, or whatever it may be, and try to do all that you can do before you get into a position of that you have to be prescribed medication. In some cases, the blood work will come back, and you'll look at it and go, wow, there's something that I definitely have to address. That might be hormonal, that might be something to do with hypoglycemia or diabetes. It could be something to do with inflammation that shows up with inflammatory markers. There's all different things that we can look at, but at least you'll have that amount of awareness to make an educated decision. And even if you don't have all the answers, you want to discuss them with a medical professional, we'll take the time and we'll talk to you about what the potentials are, what the pros and cons are, what are the different options that you can apply so you will have a better quality of life being proactive. And that's you know, sometimes it's just baby steps. Sometimes it's just like, hey, you know what? Stop drinking so much soda, start eating a little bit more green fibers. It's funny that the smallest changes with some people have the biggest results. One of our IT guys, I worked for years, he's a great guy. We're the same age. He was almost 300 pounds. He's got a really bad back. It would always spasm out. I said, Frank, we got to address this thing, man. He goes, yeah, but I can't do needles and pills. They make me sick. I said, hey, you don't need to do that. What you need to do is let's set up a simple nutrition plan that you can follow. Not some radical, crazy plan, but something easy that you can follow. And he said, well, I'm not a gym. I'm not going to the gym. I'm too old for that. I said, no, I don't want you to go to the gym. What I want you to do is you live in this really cool condo development that has this walking path. It's like the whole circumference is like 3/4 of a mile or something like that. I goes, I want you walking that in the morning, and then after dinner at night, walk it once. And over the course of a year, he went from almost 300 pounds down to about 230 pounds. Now, did he look like he worked out? No. But he looked so much better. And you know what? His quality of life was so much better. And it's funny, I said, what are you doing now? He goes, Bob, not only do I walk the circumference, but there are 4 buildings that are about 5 stories high. I run the stairs, the fire escapes in each one. And that engaged his lower back, his glutes, his hamstrings, and so forth. Guess what? The back spasm's gone. All that extra weight pulling on his frame, gone. It's an incredible thing when you think about it. A little different fine tuning. Instead of going out eating fast food, I said, hey, let's prepare your food and eat at lunch. And we ate together. And you know what? It was really simple, just a real modification. We didn't starve him. We just we did baby steps. Let's eat more greens. Let's minimize processed foods. Let's make sure you're taking some digestive enzymes, a little bit of exercise. And a year later, and close to 70 pounds, and forget about the weight. He looked 10 years younger without doing anything other than nutritional changes and some lifestyle changes. And he's a great guy. He's a genius. He's a brilliant guy. And I'd hate to see a guy I see guys that are around my age now, they suffer from disease that's just self-induced. And you know what? At this age, they're having heart attacks. They're having strokes. Is there a guarantee about anything? But you know what? When you're proactive and you do these things, you're going to have a better chance. Your odds go up go down in regard to getting sick. There are no guarantees, but the fact of the matter is that if you're in good shape and you do the right things, you know what? You're just going to have a better quality of life in terms of disease, your mood, your sex drive, your endurance, your cognitive function. I mean, I do these Facebook Live things, and I do minimal amount of, real written prep or anything like that. What I try to do is I try to speak from the heart to explain to people and really convince people that you don't have to you don't have to have invasive surgeries and tummy tucks and lipos and all these things. That you've got to take a hold of yourself. I'm not anti-surgery or anything like that, but the fact of the matter is people turn to the scalpel and the pill too often, where you know what, you're way, way too far ahead of yourself. Let's take a look at how you got there, and if we can modify those changes, it's such a fulfilling thing when you start to see physiological change and energy change. Everything changes. Your mood changes. Your relationship changes. Those things that you just have a better positive outlook on life. So let's see. Green cup. Okay. Eat 3 full cups of greens per day. See how much room you have for junk. That's true. The more fiber you have in your stomach, if you're eating that on a regular basis, you just don't have the desire to eat a lot of junk food. Your blood pressure, your blood sugar stabilizes. The carbohydrate fluctuation stabilizes in your system. Same thing, people don't drink enough water. These are the little things. I mean, how much water did you drink a day? Think about it. Did you just get up in the morning and have a coffee and zoom to work, and then a coffee, then at 10 o'clock you had to have another coffee? Well, it's not enough. You got to have water, and you have to have the water available. If the water's not available, you can't drink it. And when you start getting thirsty, you're starting to slide into dehydration. So have water. Have something that keeps it nice and cold like this. This thing sits in my car all day. If I forget it and I'm in Florida, I'll go back down. It's still cool. This is something that's smart. You can add supplements to it. You can add electrolytes to it, because when you drink a lot of water, you pee a lot. And when you pee a lot, you pee out your salt. When you pee out your salt or electrolytes, you get cramps. If you can prepare your stuff, if you can add branched chain amino acids, those branched chain amino acids give you more endurance. You see what I mean? So, but if they're not here and if it's not planned out, you don't have them available, guess what? You're behind the 8 ball again. You're not being prepared. You're not being proactive. So those are the things the little things. I mean, it's such a simple thing. Why don't you see people carrying jugs of water around, and I was never one of those guys, because you know what? The water would get warm. So you know what? I got one of these. Get one of these, keeps it nice and cold. When it stays nice and cold, I drink the water. When it's warm, I won't drink the water. That's just human nature. Some people are like that. So you know what? Find a solution to the problem. Don't just ignore it, or just don't go to the soda machine and get a cold soda. Get something that's good for you. When you plan and prepare, you're so much ahead. I do a lot of these things contemporaneously, but the reality is I've been doing this for 17 years. So I understand a a lot of the things that I'm going to get involved with. It's second nature for me. So, but a lot of people don't. When you first start out, you need that plan. You need that journal. That journal makes you a good patient. So if you journalize everything, even just for yourself, at the end of the day, if you want to review that, if you get stuck, you can go through what you've been doing, and then maybe it occurs to you, oh my God, I missed a couple meals, or I didn't eat here. Whatever happened, you mixed the food up, or you didn't work out, it becomes something that's a very constructive tool for you. So when it comes to certain things, it could just be a matter of preparation. And a lot of people go, oh, I don't have enough time, this and that. I goes, you have to make time. Make time to prepare your food. Make time to go to those places to get the supplements that you need. Make time to get blood work done. Make time to see a medical professional. Because if you don't, what are the alternatives? I don't have to go into it with you. Cardiovascular disease, stroke, heart attack, diabetes, blindness. I mean, I could show you the pictures. I have the patients that come in here that haven't been proactive, that have come in way beyond the proactive stage. Now they're in a reactive stage. They're the typical person that goes to the emergency room, or I get them after they've had a traumatic surgery or a medical emergency. And that's a whole different perspective now. You've got medications that the doctors have to contend with. There's limitations in terms of physically what they can do and so forth. And sometimes people, even before, have some limitations, but usually they're not as complex or as somebody who's had a foot cut off, or they're going blind, or they have to take, all these different medications for blood pressure, insulin, and so forth. These are all things that you've got to contend with when you're in a reactive stage. So be proactive, plan your things out, get to somebody, develop a strategy. And you get with us and you can shoot the breeze with us, and at least it'll give you some perspective of where to go. What do I need to do on my journey of being a healthier, happier person? And that's what it comes down to. You want to be happy. If you're sick, you're not going to be happy. If you're sick, you're going to be depressed. You see what I mean? If you're sick, you're going to be cynical. Some people are cynical anyway, but if you're sick and you don't feel good, it's hard to be optimistic and happy and have vigor and want to do things. The walls start closing in on you. You know what I mean? The possibilities become limited. When you're healthy and you're vibrant and you have a lot of vitality, there's so many possibilities and potential that you can pursue, but it's frustrating. So how do you get going? It's really simple. It's just a matter of calling somebody up, calling us up, texting us, instant messaging us. It's so easy. Then talk to us for a little while. Talk to us. Don't get all excited about getting on board and doing anything. Let's talk. Let's find out what's going on with you, okay? Let's find out the dynamics. Then, you know what? Let's go get some blood work done. Let's get a medical professional involved at that point. Then from there, supervision, follow-up. Supervision, follow-up. Planning, preparing. Journals. These are the simple things that if you're involved with somebody, it seems like it's really overwhelming, but when you're working with somebody that understands that, we keep you on track. Problem is, people get all excited, they want to get committed. Always happens at the beginning of the year. They want to stay on track. They join a gym membership. They buy Jenny Craig or some meal plan. What happens? They stay on track. Then what happens? Nobody to relate to. Nobody to keep their feet to the fire. And some people don't want any supervision, and it's some people can do that. In my experience, not many can. Most people, you need to network with people that are like-minded. If you're in an environment where there's negativity or people don't think you can achieve, it's very difficult. You want to have some sort of resource that you can go back to and say, hey, what can I do? I have a spouse that doesn't think I can. You've got to have some sort of resource or somebody that you can go to that has a positive and will promote you and back you up. That's why it's so important that family members believe in what you can do. So that's the process. It's pretty simple. Get in touch with somebody. Call us, email us, instant message me. All the social media things that we do. Facebook message us. Do a lot of Facebook now, as you can see. And get going. And remember, stay well hydrated, okay? Take care, guys.